With Marvel Studios finally announcing the Fantastic Four movie being directed by Spider-Man director Jon Watts, and Marvel and Sony confirming that Tom Holland's Spider-Man would have one additional appearance after the third Spider-Man outing in the MCU, I think it pretty much only makes sense to put him into the Fantastic Four film. Say what you will, whether you love or hate the Jon Watts directed Marvel Studios Spider-Man films, it is very evident that Marvel Studios and Disney have loved what he's done with those films, as well as Sony has loved what he's done with them, since they had somewhat of a battle over who gets Jon Watts next. And we know that Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige ended up winning that bidding war, and that Jon Watts will be directing Marvel's Fantastic Four. Now, for everybody that's looking at that choice, if you look at his Spider-Man films, if you look at the MCU as a whole, and if you look at the Fantastic Four, it sort of is almost like a perfect fit because it does make sense. And if you look at Spider-Man with what they're doing with the third film and the direction they're going in, and the fact that it was confirmed that Spider-Man would have one more appearance in the MCU after the third film, I think you could sort of line the pieces of news up and look at it realistically and assume that Marvel Studios will let Jon Watts put Spider-Man into the Fantastic Four as a sort of passing of the torch for the director, but also Spider-Man being a property that Disney and Marvel Studios do not fully own, sort of passing the torch to something that they didn't own before, but now they do. And the connection with the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man goes all the way back to Spider-Man's first appearance, where he first appeared in the Fantastic Four comics. Why not pay it back the other way, where Spider-Man appears in the first Fantastic Four film as sort of a tribute and a callback to that? And hell, let's speculate. What if in the third Spider-Man film he doesn't necessarily end up leaving our universe through the multiverse, but what if his send-off is in the Fantastic Four? What if they're dealing with the quantum realm? What if that's part of the actual movie? I mean, that could honestly work for the best because it's Reed Richards, like the smartest dude in all of Marvel Comics. It honestly would make a lot of sense. And what else I think would really work with this is that it's going to give Jon Watts entire freedom. It goes back to that whole argument of people arguing that they don't like Jon Watts and what he does with Spider-Man, but they like what the Russo brothers did with his appearances more, because Spider-Man is directly being controlled in part by Sony in all the crossover appearances that happen with the MCU films. When it comes to the Avengers films that he's appeared in Civil War, that's all done by Marvel Studios side of things, and Sony doesn't have input to control the creative direction. So maybe Jon Watts can finally be unleashed with how he wants to handle Peter Parker 100% when he puts him into the Fantastic Four, and not have to be beholden to Sony telling him what to do every step of the way and going against some of the decisions that Marvel Studios wants. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think Spidey's final appearance might be in the Fantastic Four? Do you think they maybe save it for, I guess, 5-6 years after the next Spider-Man film for the next Avengers film? Or will they be able to work out another contract and keep him in there longer? My hope is that part, but you never know these days.